Now, if you find yourself across the net from, let's say, a Jeremy Casey serving from the service line, and he's just bombing serves, or any recreational player you play against that has a really hard serve, this video is going to teach you how to absorb that pass so you're not launching balls to the sky and making it extremely hard for your partner to set you. Roll intro. Welcome back to part 3 MasterClass with Chaim Schalk. For those of you who don't know him, this is our good friend, even though we play against him on the AVP. He's one of the best players on the AVP. He's originally from Canada. He transferred over to the US. We're happy to have him. And we brought him in because he is definitively one of the best passers on the AVP tour. And if you've watched our slow motion replays, my passing sucks. Thanks, now today he's going to share us all his passing secrets. Say hi.
Let's do it. I'm excited to do some passing.
Let's do it.
I blew that, didn't I?
The next thing you want to talk about would be like absorption and like that pop. You know, when absorbing and when do you give it a little more of that lift?
For sure. The reason why I think footwork is the most important is because we don't know if they're going to serve us short, deep, to our like the first step is with our feet. So that is huge. But in terms of absorbing a pass, if Phil Dalhausser's ripping a serve at me, I don't really need to focus too much about, pushing that ball right up to the net. I need to focus on taking as much off as I can so that, I'm not passing 100 feet in the air for my partner. It's almost easier when it's in your midline and they're serving right at you. Obviously, usually things are easier that way because you can kind of pull back, but you still have that ability when that ball is, a little bit outside your body to be able to still shrug a little bit is kind of what I say. And you don't give it as much of that push or that pop. When the other sense, like if someone's hitting a float serve or a deep float serve at me and I'm moving, opening up a little bit, passing outside my body, a lot of times you need to give it a little bit extra so that we're still putting it in the zone that we want. The zone that I want for passing is not a huge area. Like I said, for my offense, I want it to all be within this square. I like to think about like offensively when we're not talking about passing, but like everything's kind of within like a box. Mm-hmm. For me, when I'm attacking, when I'm approaching, I pass the ball forward, keep it all in a box, and then try to keep the set at like a medium tempo so that everything is in my peripheral and I don't need to look anywhere else besides my peripheral to see what they're doing and then what I'm doing. Because for me, it's not a game of like, I'm taking a look and seeing what they're doing and then siding out. It's like, no, I'm passing and I'm trying to keep everything in my box. And if I can keep everything within that square, then that's where I'm at my best siding out. And I know my percentages go up like crazy when I'm in there. So it's about finding the balance between, someone ripping a serve at you, taking a little bit off, trying not to pass super high. I generally try to keep it down as much as I can unless I'm really forcing my partner to try to option on 2. The balance between that and then someone moving you with the float serve where you're having to give it a little extra.
Yeah, buddy.
I watch you pass, and a lot of the times the ball doesn't have as much spin on it. Do you know why that is?
Yeah, it's something that I've trained. I've worked a lot on it. Generally, if you're just passing and putting a bunch of spin on the ball, it's the same kind of thing. It makes it a little bit tougher for the setter. If you can absorb things a little bit more while not sacrificing, and shooting the ball super low at your partner, it's all about finding that balance.
This is something that we were talking about watching you pass, because you played Jake and it's all jump serves, and you were just like, boom.
Right.
It was like this pull away.
Yeah.
Your arms are just like absorbing everything, and then there's less spin, doesn't go as high.
So especially if someone's like, in terms of spin, if someone's hitting a jump serve at you, that's when you're gonna more than likely add more spin to the ball, and it makes it even tougher. But if I'm passing and Jake Gibbs serving me and he's bombing at me, I'm absorbing the ball and I'm kind of pulling back a little bit with my arms, just because that motion of release, it just is nice to the ball, and like just a little softer off your arms, and so there's less spin. This is a very subtle thing that 98% of volleyball people won't understand probably, because this is something that, like, why would you even have to do that? Why can't you just push the ball up with your arms and get it to the position where it needs to go? But that to me is the kind of stuff that really stuck out in my head, is like what's important. It's about taking the really small details and making them the best. So if I'm pulling back a little bit on a really difficult serve, bringing the height of that ball down a little bit and taking a little bit of spin off that ball, as opposed to me like aggressively pushing towards that ball and maybe stroking it, or I'm diving to the ball, I'm J stroking it so it's coming up with a crazy amount of spin. If you try to side out that ball and your partner's all of a sudden bump setting you because that ball is really tough to set. It's something that's like one of those small subtleties that most people don't really see that really make a difference in the long run.
And I liked how you said that it's like a very small like subtlety, because we don't want people after this to be like passing and just blowing up their platform.
It looks,
If you watch him pass, it's very fluid, and it does look like absorption. It's very smooth. Like I said, like he is like absorbing those like heavy serves. Maybe not from Jake Gibb, but maybe from like a harder jump server like Riley or Maddison McKibbin.
I mean, those guys are really bringing the heat.
Just that takeaway of like just letting the ball move your arms. You're not forcibly pulling them back.
Right.
Just like you're letting the ball come to you. Just
letting it hit you and being nice to it. If you can absorb it and let it hit you without having to really move into it, I think the ball is going to come off a little more true, a little nicer. It's not a movement where I'm taking the ball and I'm pulling. Yeah, I'm not pulling my arms down, but it's about being like soft with the ball as it hits you. And we don't, and in those situations, and this is mostly on hard serves, these are situations where I'm not talking about finishing to your target, because someone hits me a lollipop float serve, I'm finishing to my target with a little bit of tempo and trying to keep my offense. But if someone's hitting a really ridiculous serve at me, like Maddison McKibbin maybe, I want to take a little bit off, and it's very, very subtle. It's small, but it's just about absorbing it and feeling the ball. And this is something that comes over years and years of practice. It's something that you're not going to figure out in one day, and you're not going to, change everything you're talking about with passing, but, it's about being really smooth and fluid. And in order to get into this position where we're even able to do this, we have to take care of, the other steps that we're talking about in the first place, right? So, and I like to think that I'm able to pass like similarly to like the outside hitters that I really looked up to when I was a setter, like indoors. For whatever reason, they were like my best buddies too. Always, I was become friends with them because I'm like,
why they were friends with you.
Yeah,
because they're the outside hitter and you're the setter. Of course they're friends with you.
Yeah, they all want to be
like
best
you.
friends.
They're like, dude, just keep sending me go balls. Like,
Okay. Hey, you want to be best friends?
How you doing?
Setters are the best because we got to be best friends with anyone. Everyone loved us.